Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to learn how to make real homemade mayo. So as you know, I'm French, and in France we like to make things from scratch, and mayo is one of those things that usually there's somebody in the family that's going to make the mayonnaise whenever we want to have some. And there's all sorts of stigma attached to making mayonnaise. I'm not sure why, because it is really quite simple. So my aim today is to try to demonstrate that it is quite simple, anybody can do it, even though sometimes people will say, well, you know, it's so and so else in my family who makes the mayo because I really can't make it. The one thing that we have to know about mayo, that it doesn't always work the first time. I'm not quite sure why. There could be all sorts of different factors, like the quality of the egg, the temperature, the mustard, the oil, whatever it could be. So it's possible that the first time you make it, it doesn't work right away. And as long as you don't just give up, you might waste a few egg yolks, but that means that you'll have a bunch of egg whites to make meringues or something like that. So it's really not that much a big deal. It is really worth persisting, in my opinion, to learn to make real mayo, because first, I think it's a little bit healthier than the one that you buy, and it is really way better. There's no comparison between the taste of mayo that you buy in a jar and the one that you make yourself. So first, we're going to look at what we need to make the mayo, and it's very simple. In terms of the utensils, you're going to need a bowl that has a fairly small bottom. So you want this part to be smaller than the top part. You don't want to use this type of bowl because the bottom is too wide and it's not going to allow you to make the mix properly. This one I'm going to keep to separate my egg white, and I'll just keep it there for later use. So that's very important. That type of bowl, this type of bowl, is the one that you want to use so that you can have a successful mayo. What you're going to need also, and I'm actually going to physically take the egg out of the refrigerator so that you remember this part. I personally find that your mayo is more likely to take and to work the first time if you have a very cold egg. So when I make mayo, I just get the egg straight out of the fridge and I go right to it. Don't take it out early. It's more likely to go wrong, in my opinion. I may be wrong, I don't know. So here's my egg that is straight out of the refrigerator, and I'm going to leave it here just for the time that I show you the rest. You will need mustard, just about half a spoonful. And I have a normal little teaspoon that I use for desserts and stuff like that. And you'll see how much I put in a minute. We're going to need some vegetable oil. The key here is to have some kind of oil that doesn't taste of anything, because otherwise it changes the whole taste of the mayo. So any normal vegetable oil. And I've poured it in a different jar that's a little bit easier to pour, because you're going to have a very thin amount that goes in when you make the mayo. Then at the end, you're going to add a little bit of lemon. Once your mayo is starting to look like mayo, that will be your last step, and then you'll just give it another little mix. And then you need an electric mixer. That's the modern way to do it. It's much easier than in the olden days. And you're going to use only one of these. Normally, you would use this to probably make egg whites, thicken egg whites. But for the mayo, you're going to use only one of those. And you just prepare it. And the other important part is that you're going to use the highest speed when you start. As soon as you start, the first mix you can do, or you can go on number 1, and then you go all the way up. And again, that's how it's way more likely to work. Okay, so this is it, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer so that you can see exactly how it's done. Okay, so here we are. So let's start with this first step, very important. We're going to want to separate the egg white and the egg yolks. So I'm going to start here, and I'll just keep my egg white and maybe make a meringue or something like that with it. So the very important part here is to separate the egg yolk very, very well so that you really have as little egg white left as possible. So I think that's pretty much as good as I can do it. And I'll just get rid of this. Okay. Now, so we're now going to put the egg white aside because we're not going to need it. And I am going to grab a little bit of salt. There. You can always add some later, but you want the mayo to taste quite good. And a little bit of pepper. Pepper is usually quite important. I'm going to add a little bit more salt because I don't think I put enough. There we go. Okay. So, and now we're going to add about a teaspoon. I'm using a normal spoon, not like necessarily a measuring spoon. And I'm going to put probably about half a spoonful of mustard, something like this. And I'm going to add it there and then put that aside. I'll keep the lemon for later. This I'm done with. And now we're going to start to do the mix. So the idea of this, we're going to put this on, start mixing together, and then little by little, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a very small amount of oil as I go without stopping. So what you don't want to pour a whole bunch of oil on the egg mix. You want to go very slowly with a very small amount. I'm going to try to show it on this side. So it falls very, very slowly. And the other part that's very important, and that's just a thing, I've never tried to do it the other way, so I'm just going to keep doing it that way. Apparently, it works better if you go anti-clockwise. Okay, so I'm going to, when I put the mixer on, I'm going to turn this way. Okay, it's anti-clockwise. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to keep filming at the same time. I apologize for the noise. Okay, so I paused a little bit to keep doing, and this is what your mayo is going to look like when it's done. So it's fairly thick, and the last step that you have to do is add the lemon. Before we do that, though, one thing I want to explain: you're going to see right away as soon as you start the mixer whether it's working or not. If you add your oil and the mix becomes kind of liquid, then it didn't work, and it's not really worth. You can try for another 30 seconds, but if it doesn't get thick right away, kind of like this, your mayo didn't work. You just have to start again with another egg yolk. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of lemon now, just a few drops to give it a bit of taste, and that's kind of how you like it. And then I just give it a little beat again. And there we go. You now have a delicious mayo. which is nice and thick, and that will taste delicious.